Live from the Cactus Creek at Ibri, he is the king of primetime, Ghana's undisputed entertainment laureate, and still the youngest old man in Ghana. Put your hands together, show some love for the indefatigable KSM.
The KSM Show.
Hello! Folks, it's so good to be back here. This is the first time back at Cactus Creek for a while, so we're coming to you today live from Cactus Creek. Show some love, man. Oh, by the way, before I start, are you aware that this show started in 2003, in February 2003, which means that right now, this show has been on air for 22 years, man. 22 years. Come February, we'll be on air for 23 years. And people are telling me, on a case, so I retire. They say, go retire, let's be free. You know what I mean? Instead of retiring and reloading. So now you're going to see KSM Show Reloaded coming up your way, man. And let me tell you something about the Reloaded show. Only 2 segments. You'll be missing many of the segments that used to be on. But for the Reloaded KSM, only 2 segments. The first segment is called Politically Incorrect. Only a cancer. That's where we say things. Politically Incorrect. That's the first segment. And the second segment is just amazing interviews where we'll be getting in touch with people who have amazing stories that you've never heard of before. But today is the first time we're back, KSM Reloaded, and let's start straight away with Politically Incorrect. What is incorrect now? Do you know something? A friend of mine came to me, and by the way, this friend of mine is a serious MPP man. And he came up to me, and he said, KSM, you have to do a show. I said, show on what? He says, Charlie, my party, even in opposition, we are mismanaging. He says, he says, yeah, even in opposition, the MPP is mismanaging. And I said, wait a minute. Even in opposition, mismanaging in opposition. He says, yeah, KSM. We saw the signs, but we didn't pay attention. It goes all the way back. Oh, remember that vetting thing? All the way back. I'm sure most of you have forgotten by now. But he said it was the first sign that there's going to be mismanaging in the position. Take a look at this.
Committees say they will not be part of it if it should happen tonight. The appointments committee put their chairs on the table. In fact, they have dismantled the entire table arrangement.
So as you can see the visuals, they're broken down table, they're trying to take it out of the chamber. And so persons who are occupying that seat would have to find an alternative space to sit for the veteran to continue. If only will continue on this rate.
So we're back, man. And this was his sign, man. And he was telling me, and the funny thing is this. Check this out, folks. He's saying that he was hoping that would be the end. But he said it is continuing. And you know what he said? He said it seems that now we even have to vote them out of opposition. How do you do that? He said, do you see the chaos? Take a look at this, man. Oh my God, this is the pyramid of Ghana. See them pushing each other. Oh, no, this is not on. This is not on at all. And in all this confusion, man, I was hoping that my adopted nephew, you know him? Reverend Intims Fojo, Reverend. I was hoping that he would come up and say, hey folks, Matthew 5:6-20. Peace be still. No, basically I was hoping that he'd come and as a reverend install peace Who bondo KSM? Look at him. Oh, look at him. My nephew's so upset, man. Just look at man. Oh, no. Actually throwing something? Man, look, in the midst of all the chaos, I was looking for their leaders. I said, who's the leader who's going to stand up and correct all this chaos? And then I saw the leader. Oh, man, I kid you not. I saw the leader, the great, honorable Mr. Anodompre. He was the leader. And there's some profound things he has said, which qualifies him, uniquely qualifies him to be a leader. Very, very profound statements he has made. Maybe you missed the statement he made, but listen to what he said.
So we MPP ni mapa. Now we to say MPP 4 and now say MPP ni any NDC ni ekwa. Boa MPP ni no na yambu NDC ni no. Na yambu no ye.
Look, folks, I was so shocked when I heard this. Say we MPP ni mapa and you see and please, so where are we going with this country? I've been saying this on the air all the time. I think it's Paul. I'm not a biblical expert, but I think he said something to the fact that when I was a child, I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. I spoke like a child. And I think that's the age where honorable you are. Now you're no longer a child, though. You're now operating, now giddy and all those things. Actually, that's when you're a child. Now you are in parliament. You are part of the highest legislative body of the country. So you have to think in terms of reconciling and building this nation. You know the funny thing? All the time we are talking like this in parliament and all the chaos. Let me tell you the most amazing part. There were kids, children, who are growing up, who want to see how parliament works, who want to see the nature of our politicians. So they're up there in the gallery in parliament watching. Take a look at them.
We have students from the Muzano Senior High School. They are 65 in number, coming from the Boakyewaa West constituency.
A few moments later.
Folks, can you imagine what these kids are thinking? And yes, sure, but it's funny. Can you imagine what these kids are thinking? They are sitting down there thinking, oh, but I don't think it's difficult to become a parliamentarian. You don't need to go to school and spend time and study and be mature to become a politician. It's very easy. You just come and fight, that's all. Folks, that's the message that you guys on the floor, you honorables, that's the message you were sending to the children up there. Say, oh, and me, honestly, I felt sorry for the speaker. He was like shocked. Sitting up there and watching. Just take a look at him watching. And you know what he's thinking right about now? He says, oh my God, are these the people we call honorables? Look at this. Are they honorables? So, so you know something? When I see this, I'm thinking of, me too, I'll write a petition. I say petition has become very popular. If you don't understand anything, then you petition. So I'm going to write a petition. And the petition is only one thing. Do you know what I'm writing? That until politicians make a pledge to act properly, I'm sending a petition that from now on, we should call them all dishonorables. How many will buy that petition, man? Oh, man. You know, this is the KSM show. We look at things and the lighter side of things. But it doesn't mean you're serious. You're serious about. But we just sometimes you have to cool small and look at the craziness in things, like we just saw, you know. But we're going to go to our next segment. I told you that Reloaded has just 2 segments. The first one is politically incorrect, and that's what you just saw. Do you see how incorrect it was? And the next part is an amazing interview. And by the way, for the interview, I'm going to be discussing some very amazing things regarding mental health. So stay tuned for the interview. But for political correct, let me say this, folks. Honorables in Parliament, all sides, please act honorably. Not for my sake, maybe retire, but for the children. Look at the children, up and coming. They are growing up to be the next, they are growing up to be the future leaders of this country. And they have come to Parliament to observe how you honorables behave. And this is what you show them. Very sad. Anyway, stick around. My petition will be coming very soon. And when we come back, we are going to part 2, the interview. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Folks, this is my first guest for KSM Reloaded. And you must know that if I'm reloading the show, then my guest no part wasa. Look, this is a very, very, very prominent woman. She used to work for TV3, that's all I remember. But she does so many other things. And today, folks, trust me, we are talking about something very, very, very important that we disregard, that we don't pay attention to, or maybe we just ignore. It's called mental health. And she has an amazing story when it comes to mental health, and she will tell you why. But let me shut up for now. Put your hands together and welcome my great guest, Boakyewaa Glover. Show some love, man. Hey, there we go, there you go, there you go. And a hug, man. Boakyewaa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Finally, please, 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 please. As they will say.
I hope you remember it's my second time on your show, you know.
Oh, this is second time?
The pictures. I think, was it, Thank God It's Friday?
Yeah, that was Thank God It's Friday.
I've been on before when I was launching one of my books, The Justice, or way back, or Circles.
Wow.
I will send you the pictures.
Please do.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Before. Yes.
You see, this is the casualty of aging. I'm growing small. Okay. I turned 69 just a couple of days ago.
Oh, wow. Happy belated.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Hey, next year, dear, then it will be a big one.
That's what I tell everybody. 69 and you.
70.
70 is crossover.
Yes.
God willing. But it's good to have you here.
Good to be here.
And it's amazing, finally, to have you here. Yes. And folks, like I said, we're going to be talking about mental health. And let me start this way, Boakyewaa. You know, because I stayed outside for a long time, yeah, it's a mental health thing. Let's sit down and let's help whoever. It's a mental health thing. In our parts of the world, we really don't know. I mean, the tree word, that's what about them. Which means, Charlie, there's nothing else, you know. And you have started this kind of education for people to pay more attention to mental health and start understanding, say, it's not every case is about them like. Please let me keep quiet and let me hear you talk, and then I think what motivated everything was that your dad had mental health.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this year was the very first time I started talking about mental health. But growing up, my dad had schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia. So schizophrenia is a very severe and serious mental illness where the sufferer, for the most part, has a break with reality in the sense that sometimes they hear things that are not real or they see things that are not real.
They
So-
hear things that are not real.
Yes, or they,
And they
see
see
things
things.
that are not real. So they have a break from reality. So my dad suffered from schizophrenia. And when we were young, we actually were not told this is what my father had. We were just separated from him very, very early. And the
Because
way,
of the condition.
because of his condition, and the way that I found out, or how do I even put this? The next time I saw my father he was on the streets. He was on the streets like,
So just quick rewind. So
yes.
he left home or they took you away from home?
They
Or
took us away,
Away.
and we were living, we were living with my grandparents. So my brothers and
Okay,
I, the three
okay,
of us, were living with my
okay.
grandparents.
so
we were-
after that they took you away,
Yes.
how long did it take for you to actually see him on the street?
So when they took us away, he had visitation for a little bit. So we saw him a couple of times that I remember. There was one time he was living in Tema, so we went to Tema to visit him. And that's when I noticed that he wasn't quite all there. We went for a very, very long walk with him. And then he gave us something to eat, but everything just felt off. And that was the last visit. And then the very next time I saw him, and I can't remember how many years, maybe it was 3-4 years or so. And there was really no conversation in the house about what was going on with my dad. My mom lived elsewhere, and we were living with my maternal grandparents. And the very next time I saw him was when he was on the streets.
Oh wow.
And it was during a class trip.
A class trip?
Yes.
So you were with your other
Yes.
students?
Other students. I couldn't react. I couldn't
But you
say-
saw him?
I saw him.
And you said, that's my dad.
In my mind, in my head, I'm like, that's my dad. But I couldn't react. I couldn't say anything to
What
anyone.
exactly was he doing when you saw him?
He was carrying one of those Ghana Must Go bags. He looked like, it's tough to use those words, but you know, the people on the streets just walking disheveled, unkempt, talking to himself. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, what's happening? What's going
Wow.
on? And then that was the beginning of me seeing him frequently on the streets, and we were just told he was unwell. But the term schizophrenia was never used. I was a child. I didn't understand what was going on. It was never explained properly. Nobody sat us down and had a conversation. All right, kids, we're going to explain to you now what's happening. And I can understand back in the day, mental health was something that was very hush-hush. And I'm sure the adults in our life sort of felt we wouldn't be able to either handle it or understand it. And so it was never discussed.
Speaking of handling it, here you are going with a group of your students, and you see your father in that state. Do you remember what it did to you at that moment?
It was trauma for me. I felt guilt. I felt shame. I felt
Guilt in terms of...
guilt that here I am, I'm in school, I'm with a group, and my dad, the one who birthed me, my biological dad, is on the streets with no care. So guilt, I mean, obviously I was a child, but I felt some type of responsibility and some type of guilt in terms of I am okay, I have a bed to sleep at
but
night,
he's
I have
not.
food to eat, I'm taken care of. So guilt that he's living that way, I am not, and shame. And guilt that I can't even tell anybody that I'm with. And to be quite honest, some of my closest friends that I grew up with, I never ever said a word about my father, his condition, how he lived. I never did. Besides immediate family cousins never said a word. I was just the trauma, the guilt, the shame. This was just this family thing that it was just unspoken.
And at the time, and even to date, we don't really understand what schizophrenia is. At the time, what in your mind was happening to him? You didn't know schizophrenia?
I didn't know schizophrenia. So what happened, all I knew, which would be like what a majority of Ghanaians understand, is that somebody has lost their mind.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was confusing because when you sometimes feel like, does the person know what is happening? Are they choosing to be in that state? What level of control do they have? It's so many questions you have because you don't understand mental health. You don't understand the level of control versus the level of illness. You just don't get it. It was when I was much older and I had some form of autonomy that we tried getting him help. So we took him to various institutions. And it was during one of those moments, there was an institution at Jolu, and that was the first time the doctor explained that it is schizophrenia. But at that point, I studied psychology at Legon. And I studied psychology because of my dad, because I wanted to understand mental illnesses. So I had read up the various mental illnesses, and I had already deduced that what my father was going through was schizophrenia, even before the doctor confirmed that it was schizophrenia. So I was had an avid interest in psychology because of my dad. I wanted to understand him. At first, I wanted to be him, which was I wanted to be a lawyer because my dad was a prominent lawyer.
Very, very prominent lawyer.
And everybody talked about him and how smart and intelligent he was. He has cases in the law books. So I wanted to be a lawyer, but then I decided that it's better to understand him than to just be a lawyer. So I diverted my interest to psychology.
Oh, so that the whole your studying psychology was motivated by trying to understand what your father was going through?
And to see how I could help it.
Let me tell a story, I don't think I've ever told you, about me and your father. I had an office back then, Sapphire started with Usu Atakai House.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he found out I was working there.
Yeah.
But evidently he was very close friends with my eldest brother, you know. So I came to the office and said there was this man down there. They didn't even want him to come to the office because, like you said, so disheveled, carrying his bags and everything. And he says he knows you and he wants to talk to you. And I looked from the top and I said, but I don't know this man. But eventually, I don't know what happened. I just said, Mama Numra, you know. So he came up and we started talking, and I couldn't quite remember where I knew him yet. And he was talking about some shows I had done at the National Theatre, asking me if I listened to this program on BBC called The Ticket. And we started discussing The Ticket. And I'm looking at him, and this is where I would Ghana near drink. And I said, you know, but he was so brainy, so sharp, so intelligent, discussing literature, law. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took a while before I found out that my eldest brother was friends with him, and then we became friends. Every now and then he would come up my office.
Yeah. I hear these stories so much. Every time I meet a lawyer, even my current boss would tell me that he met my dad at a law firm. He would come there, and even in that state of him being disheveled, going through schizophrenia, untreated, he was giving law advice. And he would tell me that every single law advice my dad gave him worked.
Spot on.
Spot on. He would win every single case or approach based on advice my dad gave him. And to be honest, every single time I hear these stories, and one of your Sapphire employees actually left a comment on one of my posts that, oh, your dad used to come to Sapphire.
Oh, really?
People leave comments that, oh, your dad used to come to this firm. Oh, I used to know your dad. Or your dad used to visit. And every time I hear those comments, I have two reactions. The first reaction is, I'm glad that people got to experience his intelligence even in that state.
Even in that state?
Even in that state.
Yeah.
Because I'm really glad people got to see that just because someone is struggling or has a mental disease doesn't mean that their intellect or their cognition isn't working. So I'm glad they got to experience his intellect even in that state. But the second reaction I have, which is a bit selfish, is that I didn't get to experience that.
Oh, really?
Like, I didn't get him coming to visit and have those conversations.
Oh.
Because so many people, he was going around seeing so many people, talking to so many people for years. And he wasn't coming around to see us, type of thing. But I'm just really glad that people got
to experience that.
That, because I hear those stories so much about his brilliance, even before and during his illness. And that is why I do advocacy. Mental health or mental illness does not mean you cannot function. It does not mean you lose cognition, you lose your intelligence. And I also advocate because I also have my own diagnosis, but look at me and you sitting here, you wouldn't know unless I share it with you, right?
And we'll get to that. Yeah. But I just, you know, and this is the Christmas season. This is one of the best presents you can get in your life. For those who have people in their family going through mental, you know, crises, mental health problems, I want you to talk to them now. Before I will be getting to you, but what kind of advice will you start to anybody listening who...
Yeah, I would say probably two things. Number one, even with children, it is very, very important to have conversations with children. The WHO states that 75% to about 80% of mental illnesses starts from childhood or early teens. And that is because childhood trauma is probably the number one reason. So you might think that a child is okay, but children are watching, observing, and absorbing the trauma around them. Like a father who is not well, a mother who's not well, daddy, mommy fighting, not having enough to eat, having trouble at school, all kinds of problems happening. You might think the kids are okay, but we need to pay attention to children because they absorb it, they bear it, and it becomes issues later on. So have meaningful conversations with your kids. And if you don't know how to do it, get a professional to help you. Number two, if you have any family member that is clear, the family member is struggling, don't shy away from having a conversation. Have a direct conversation with anybody who is obviously struggling. Just be very tactful. Don't dictate, don't lecture. Just sort of go at it from a point of being a friend. A lot of people go at it from go to church, go pray, do this, and you'll be fine. Don't lecture. Don't throw things at them. Try and listen to them. Most people are looking for connection. They're looking for a helping hand. They're looking for someone to be there with them and to listen. Not for someone to be like a higher authority preaching down on them. So those are the two things. Don't lose sight of kids and have meaningful conversations and be a helping hand to people around you that it's very clear that they're going through something, and get them professional help. And by professional help, I do mean professional help. The pastors are great, but we have professionals for a reason. So get them professional help. That would be my core message right now to any family out there. And it's clear you have a member who is struggling or you're a caregiver, but don't lose sight of the children.
Yeah. And what perhaps a few signs, let's go to children. I want to start from, you know, what are a few signs you see in your child that will hint that help is needed here? Because, you know, you can't take everything, oh, this child, yeah, this is how they are, blah, blah, blah. Are there some specific things parents should know to look out for that when they see in their child, there's a cause for concern?
So maybe I'll use me as an example.
Sure.
So because what I have or what I've later been diagnosed with started from childhood. So if your child is isolating, right? So they are very, very withdrawn. They don't engage as much. You may have a child who's introverted, but this is a different form of introversion. They're just really isolated. they struggle engaging. If your child is very emotional, they get triggered very easily. They're highly sensitive to any form of comments, anything that happens. It is very triggering for them. It means they don't feel regulated. They don't feel safe. So those can also be signs. If your child just struggles with very little things that they are supposed to do and accomplish daily life, they forget things, they are a bit disorganized. And we think it's very normal for kids to be disorganized, but by a certain age, a level of maturity needs to set in. If the child seems overly aggressive, it also means there are two spectrums here. Either someone is going to be extremely aggressive or they're going to be highly sensitive. And the two, that's not good. Highly sensitive means there is an issue you need to address with emotional regulation. Aggression also means there's something you need to address with emotional regulation. So you need to monitor your child's emotions. How are they handling their emotions? Are they being a little bit too much with their emotions? Either they are very balanced, they know how to communicate, or they just don't. So emotions is one thing you need to maybe watch out for. How organized are they? How do they communicate? Are they able to express themselves? And don't take it for granted that they're going to grow out of it. So for me, I was highly sensitive, highly emotional, very easily triggered. You know, everything just felt very heavy for me. I was constantly in a low mood, and everything was just, the world just seemed very heavy. You know, I would blame people for a lot of things because I was just traumatized. And I felt I was in an environment that was just really difficult. So I was struggling. But here's the catch. We also forget kids who are just, because they are smart, we think they are okay. When someone is high functioning, when someone is performing, when someone is doing well, we tend to take our eyes off those kids and even those adults.
They have nothing to worry about.
A lot of parents don't pay attention to their high-performing kids. They pay attention to the ones who may be getting the Fs, but that high-performing child, like, I was a straight A. You know, getting prizes in school all throughout primary school, secondary. I'm a first-class student. And yet, throughout that whole period, I was struggling. But no one would notice because you just seem to be in your books.
What exactly were you struggling with in terms of in your daily chores? What were you struggling with?
I was struggling with my emotions. I was depressed. I was struggling because I didn't have that safety of a family unit. Like, imagine, you don't have to be a psychologist. So imagine seeing your father, your biological father, on the streets, disheveled, walking the streets, and you don't understand why. And you don't understand why can't someone do something. It's going to weigh on you like, and you don't have the words, you don't understand. You're not in therapy. Nobody's helping you to come to terms with it. It sits with you in a way that it depresses you. It hangs on you. So you try and overcompensate. So you try and study hard. You try and become something just to overcompensate for that pain, for that anguish. And then also for about 10 years or so, our mom was not in the house. So that's we're being cared for by our maternal grandparents. So you don't have a certain sense of stability. So that weighs on you and you're depressed, you're low. Everything just isn't shaky, but you're holding it in. You're really holding it in. You're studying, you're trying your very best. You're acing your grades, but...
So somebody's listening to you right now,
yeah,
and they're like, wow, I know what she's talking about. I'm going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Or I know somebody going through the same thing. What should they do now?
So I think what I typically say is, and I repeat this a lot, you're not alone. But the best thing to do, and we're in a different era than my father's era. Right now, there are professionals. And if you feel like the people around you, like family and friends, are not safe to talk to, you can go and find a clinical psychologist or a professional to talk to. I got to a stage where I was so overwhelmed because sometimes, here's the thing, my advocacy is really focused on high functioning people because they are the ones who suffer silently. We pay attention to the person who starts to talk to himself. We pay attention to the person who starts to roam about and remove their clothes. We don't pay attention to that person who is, going to work every day, getting the good grades, but they come back and they can't do anything else. They're completely drained. They're suffering quietly. They have no energy for anyone or anything. They're snapping easily at people and friends. But we are missing out on them because they seem to be okay. And they're dressed. Like I was in court once and a judge made a comment about, oh, but how can this person have any mental issues? Look at them, they're well dressed, she has on lipstick. That's the issue.
Wow.
We're making judgment calls on people because they look fine by appearance, by articulation, and so we take our eyes off them. But to those people who look fine by appearance, but within your heart that you are struggling, you're feeling pressure, maybe pressure to provide for your family, you're feeling some heaviness in your heart, in your soul, you're feeling like you can't cope, you're feeling like you're on the brink, you're feeling like everything is just like you're just one step away from something. You're feeling like you have a sense of self-harm. Everything is just too much, but you're holding it in, you're holding it tight. Don't let it get there. Talk to someone and get help. Like, don't let it get there. And family members and friends need to pay attention to those who seem like
everything is okay.
Everything is okay. Those who seem like they have everything in order, you really have to pay attention to those.
Let's talk about schizophrenia for a second.
Yeah.
Because you talked about they hear things, they see things that are not there. They can have conversations.
Yeah.
How do you handle somebody who is schizophrenic? Is this thing controlled with medication?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So schizophrenic is absolutely treatable. There is a misconception. In Ghana, we've decided to categorize illnesses which we think are okay and illnesses that we think it's like, you don't want to have that. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and one of the people was talking about, employee assistance programs, and made a comment about, depression, anxiety, that's fine. Schizophrenia, bipolar, you don't want to get there, you don't want to get there. They're all illnesses. Depression is a mental illness. Anxiety is a mental illness. Schizophrenia is a mental illness. So is bipolar. They're all treatable. But we have this perception that when it comes to schizophrenia, it just goes above something that you can handle. It is treatable. You can get medication for it, and with therapy, you can be a fully functioning person. One of the most brilliant mathematicians in the world, and if I mess up the name, forgive me, it's either John Nash, there was a whole movie made about him, A Brilliant Mind, A Beautiful Mind, had schizophrenia. And he was one of the most brilliant minds in our world. Do you get what I mean? And he had schizophrenia, and it was treated, and he won a Nobel Peace Prize for mathematics. So schizophrenia is not a death sentence. And in my father's final years, we were able to get him treated. And for the final 2 years, he was lucid, he was fine.
Really?
But unfortunately, he passed away due to cardiac problems. But I'm glad we got that final moment where I'm glad he didn't pass away in his untreated state. We got him treated and he was fine. So schizophrenia can be treated.
Well, we're in Ghana where everything is prayers. I know people who are in conditions who need medical assistance, they've been sent to prayer camps, and it's like, what's your advice? What's your take on it? What experience do you have on that whole issue of sending treatable people and lumping them in prayer camps, hoping for grace to...
So actually on my show, I have a podcast. I invited a pastor who's also a clinical psychologist and also a professor who's also a theologian and a psychologist. And both of them agree there's a place for faith and there's a place for psychology. One does not supersede the other. God has created experts for a reason. If you have cancer right now, your family will pray for you even as you go for surgery. Just because you can't see someone's mental illness doesn't mean it's not an illness. It's an illness that requires professional intervention. So sure, pray for them, but also get them to a professional.
Professional help.
That is my position.
Yeah.
What I experience, which to be very honest, and I'll say it freely now, I get defensive and it irritates me, is I get a lot of people sending me messages about pray and you'll be fine, pray and you'll be fine. As if I don't pray. It's almost as if when you have a mental illness, it means you are an atheist or you are not a strong Christian or you've done something wrong. And I think it's a very negative thing to do to people going through mental illness. Christians suffer. But it is wrong to separate out Christians who are suffering with mental illness almost as if they brought the suffering on themselves. Just because you wouldn't do that to someone who has cancer. So why do it to someone who has mental illness? You know, every time I speak about my own illnesses, it's almost like, do you pray? Try praying. I am a Christian. I believe in God. I pray, but I still have what I have. So I think it's not one or the other. I will go to a therapist. I will take medication. I will seek whatever treatment that God has put on this earth for us, and I will also pray. And that is my position on it. Yeah.
Well, show some love, man. Wow. Interesting. To what extent is this a genes thing? Is it in the gene? Your father had it, do you have other siblings going through similar things? Or?
So a lot of mental illness comes from a number of factors, if I might just explain.
Sure.
Yes, genes is a factor. It's almost like if you have a family member who has cancer, that can be something that you are predisposed, they say.
Yeah.
Or diabetes or hypertension, you become predisposed. It's the same for mental illness. Mental illness can be passed down through the genes. It doesn't mean that if it is schizophrenia, it's going to be schizophrenia that is passed down. It might be something else.
But it's all connected to mental health.
Yes, right? So it's something you have to watch out for. Once you have a family member who has a diagnosed mental illness, and I didn't know this until I studied it in school, but once you have a family member with a diagnosed mental illness, there is a likelihood that down the line, there will be a generation or someone who will have mental illness. So you have to probably go to therapy early and start to take care of yourself in a way that you protect your mind, protect your health, like prevention, so that you don't get to that stage. What I have, and when you're ready for us to talk about it, is part environment. Oh yeah, so genes is one factor, environment is another factor, and environment being whether it's a traumatic, toxic environment can lead to mental illness as well. Trauma is there. There are different factors that cause mental illness, but yes, hereditary or genes, that is a big factor.
What in the environment, for example, could traumatize anybody into getting some mental issues from the environment?
So environment, we can talk about work pressures. So a lot of work stress can actually trigger mental health disorders. So burnout.
Are you predisposed already to having it?
Yes. So if you are predisposed or not even predisposed, but those who are predisposed, more likely.
Okay.
But even if you're not predisposed, yes, you can. You can
okay.
still. So work pressures, either from being in a toxic work environment where you are belittled, you are devalued, you are not sort of like recognized, you are treated very badly, you work long hours, there's stress, poor compensation, all of that can be a problem. So that's environment. Environment can also be economic, financial, you're struggling to cope, struggling to take care of your family. Environment can be relational. So intimate relationships where maybe you're being abused physically or emotionally abused by another person can lead to mental health issues. So environments can be anything around you that affects your well-being from a mental or psychological or social perspective can trigger a disorder. Yeah.
I see. And in terms of the environment triggering that, it's the same kind of cures that are available. Does it matter what if yours is triggered by the environment or maybe triggered by genetics?
No.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter the source or the cause of the mental illness. Okay, so if it was trauma, so let me back up. So if the cause of the illness is trauma, yes, you do need to understand the cause in order to know which treatments would be most appropriate. And then you can figure out how do you handle this. So if the person suffers from something that came from childhood, you need them and they feel unsafe or they are dysregulated because maybe they were sexually abused, something from childhood. You do need to address that if that was the cause. You need to get them to feel safe and regulated and stable again. Without that, they cannot heal. So you will hear that in psychological speak a lot, where someone who has suffered something now needs to feel regulated and safe in order to heal. But there are all kinds of treatments, but the treatment is specific to the disorder.
Let's get a little personal. Here you are, you're working, okay, I don't want anybody to think that you are not a worker, you are a corporate, you're a big woman wherever you are working, you know. Do you have experiences on the job that give people indication that when it comes to this boss, take your time because she can be angry, she can this, that?
No.
No, nothing like that.
Nothing like that. I'm lucky. I have, at work, I have fully disclosed to my boss all my conditions. And his response was completely very kind, very empathetic, and it was more concern. Some bosses would use that to stigmatize you. They could use that to sort of everything they'd say, oh, you're behaving this way because of this and that. Quite the opposite with my boss. And the Mental Health Act, by the way, says that if you disclose your mental illness to your organization, the organization is required by law to make reasonable adaptations or adjustments for you to be able to work, which includes being able to go for your appointments. So every single time I'm going for therapy, I tell my boss. But I think with my boss, it's not about law. I think it's just about kindness. So if I'm going to Kolebu, I say, I'm going to Kolebu, he'll say all the best. He shows concern for me. He shows kindness towards me. I have never felt any form of stigma. But I think sometimes you may hear things, people may be concerned, you know, can she do her job? I hear rumors, but there's never been any overt stigma, particularly from my boss. And I think once my boss is supportive, I feel supported. And that's the most important thing. Yeah.
So this goes to anyone in any kind of condition like this. Please, full disclosure. And hopefully you have a boss that just has understanding.
But disclosure is optional.
Oh, that's
disclosure
optional.
is voluntary if you want to disclose. But if you do disclose, the benefits of that is that the organization must make adjustments or accommodations for you to continue treatment. And the second protection is that the organization can therefore not say they did not know. So you're protected in the sense that you can say, well, you know about my illness and you're stigmatizing me. So if they take any action against you, you can claim discrimination because you've disclosed.
You've disclosed.
Versus if you have not disclosed, you can't claim discrimination. But disclosure is voluntary.
Okay.
Yes.
I think now is the time that I finally ask, so what exactly is your condition?
Yeah. Yeah, even though I've been talking about it for most part of the year on my show and on my Substack journal, I'm still so nervous because your platform is so big. And I'm about to disclose it.
Please do.
Okay, so for the first part, I have what is known as borderline personality disorder.
Borderline
personality disorder, BPD. It is the most painful, mental health disorder in the world. So if you Google it right now or go to Wikipedia or you type in the most painful mental health disorder, borderline personality disorder will come up. It's a disorder of emotional dysregulation. You suffer the most excruciating emotional pain because you are dysregulated. You fear abandonment, you fear rejection. And I have what is known as the quiet type, which means I turn my emotions inside. So you look at me, you wouldn't see. So I'm high function, it's called high functioning borderline. But I am turning my emotions inward. I am suffering inward. But it is excruciating pain. It's almost like, they say it's almost like you don't have any skin, emotional skin. You suffer. And no other mental condition has that level of suffering. That's BPD.
The one you talk about the suffering, is it emotional, is it physical, is it mental?
So it is so emotional, it then becomes physical. And so it can cripple you.
Physically?
Yes. You can feel so much emotional pain that physically sometimes it can immobilize you because you're in so much emotional pain.
Wow.
So that's number one. Number two, I also have chronic depression or what is known as persistent depressive disorder. It's persistent because it's always there. It's like having a low fever. So it's like you constantly have this depressive fever or this low grade mood. There's where you have major depressive disorder and then you have persistent depressive disorder. A major depressive disorder comes and goes. So you can get into a major depressive episode where you're like manic or something's going on. Or you can have a persistent one where like constantly
it's there.
It's there.
Yours is persistent?
Yes. And that's from like childhood. But during having persistent, you can also have major come and intermingle with the persistent. That's number two. Then I'm also dealing with complex trauma.
Complex trauma.
Or complex PTSD. So PTSD is when you suffer after an event. So a traumatic event or something happens and the aftermath of that event leaves you feeling unsafe. PTSD means it was one thing that happened that left you feeling unsafe. Complex PTSD means it was one thing after another that's been happening in your life, and it compounds such that your whole system is dysregulated and you just feel unsafe. The thing about complex PTSD sufferers that also it can be masked. We mask it almost like we are okay, we're normal, we're just going about life. But again, there's silent suffering.
So let me ask this, because I'm listening to you talking about all these major things you're going through.
Yep.
You work in an office and you have your terms of reference of things to do. You have your key performance indicators that you are meeting. How are you doing that? How are you doing that all?
I told you, I'm a high function person. I got all A's throughout Richard, West Eagles, Legon. I went to NYU. I was an acting VP at Newmont. The level I'm at right now, I perform through pain. That has been my mask, my badge. I perform. And it's dangerous though, but I perform. I somehow managed to push through. But last year was the first time that the mask got destabilized.
What caused it?
A heartbreak. So this high performer, for the very first time, my nervous system that I had tightly controlled got destabilized because someone that I was seeing really, really cared about broke up with me over text.
Over text?
And then 5 days later, I was hospitalized because my entire system crashed.
Wow.
And that's what started me on, I wanted to do advocacy. So once I got back on my healing journey, I'm able to perform again. I'm in treatment. And that's the importance of seeking therapy, seeking a professional, and seeking treatment. So I was not on medication until my system crashed. Before then, it was sheer will, sheer
So that's
masking.
the first time you went on medication?
Yes.
When it crashed?
Yes.
Before then you were coping with things?
I was coping through my sheer will. But after that, no. I couldn't. Once my system crashed, there had to be an admission that I no longer had that.
Was this person a relationship or you were married to? Or?
No, a relationship that, for me, this was it. And the thing about BPD is when you love, we love deeply. We love with everything. We don't love in bits and pieces. We don't love casually. We love like it's the end of the world. Wow. And when we get heartbroken, BPD, we feel emotions like 200%. We don't feel things in bits and pieces, right? Someone might say something to you, KSM, and it might just be like nothing. The same words might be said to me, and it's going to register like end of the world. So a heartbreak to you might be, a heartbreak to me, end of the world. Especially if it's somebody you really, really care about.
So what are you doing to prevent such an occurrence?
I'm not dating anymore.
You're not dating?
I'm done.
Really?
I feel like I barely survived that. I'm not doing it again because here's the thing. I feel like, let's take an autistic child. It takes a special parent to take care of an autistic child. It takes a certain level of patience and understanding to be a parent to an autistic child. I've now accepted I'm a special needs girlfriend. And it'll take a special kind of partner to be able to deal with everything I just shared with you. Do you get what I mean? And that level of patience and emotional maturity and emotional skill and capacity, I think a lot of people don't have. I don't think my ex is a villain. I don't blame him. Two truths can exist at once. He didn't have the emotional capacity, the emotional tools, and the emotional skills to deal with everything I had going on and the intensity of me.
He also had full disclosure of what you've been through.
Oh, yes. My therapist spoke to him.
Okay.
We spoke to him. So he knew of everything. But he didn't have the emotional tools, the emotional skills, and the emotional capacity to deal with it. And so he snapped. The way he broke up wasn't kind. So I can hold both truths. That he didn't have the skill set, but he still hurt me. It doesn't make him a villain, but he still hurt me. And I've come to realize that a lot of people may not have that skill set and that level of patience to deal with someone going through what I am going through. You know, you need to have something.
What, for example, would you do that requires that extra patience and extra understanding? What?
My emotional level is really high. I just expressed to you that you might say something to me and I will internalize it as so much, as pain. And I also I need consistency. I need validation. I need a certain level of commitment and attention. One of the biggest things for BPD people is fear of abandonment. So we need to feel like you're not going anywhere, right? And he needs autonomy, independence. He needs to be able to disappear for 2 weeks. And if you do that, I'm panicking.
Okay.
So you need someone who has the patience to talk to you, to calm you down. And even when you get emotional, they know that it's not on purpose. And you have this thing that's making you act that way. So it takes skill, it takes patience, it takes communication to know that this person is not acting a certain way on purpose. They're going through, it's a condition. The same way I know my son has ADHD. So I know that he's not losing things on purpose. So I treat him with a certain level of patience. And I get him extra help, extra attention because I understand his condition. So I'm a special parent to a special needs child and we get each other. So I would need a partner who has that maturity and that patience. That's what I'm saying. My ex is not a villain. There's only so much you can handle.
Let me ask a very silly question.
Okay.
Your ex is watching this program and he says, Boakyewaa, I watched the episode with KSM and I was listening to you and I really felt so sad. I wronged you. Now I really, I thought I understood, but now I even understand better. Give me another chance because I am going to make sure I do the right thing. Would that convince you or you're at the stage where...
Oh, he's not coming back. I know for sure.
You know for sure he's not coming back?
I know for sure he's not coming back.
What if he did? That's what I'm
I know for sure. And part of my healing is not to hold on to hope.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Not just you, all of us.
Yes.
Part of our healing is not to hold on.
It's not to hold on to hope.
Wow.
It's to deal with it, accept it, and to learn to move on. So I'm not holding on to hope. That would be unhealthy for me. And I understand him. I let it go. I understand me. I'm not a bad person. He's not a bad person. We're just two, I'm about to be emotional. We're just two very different people. I have a lot going on, and I want to focus on my healing. I want to focus on my son.
How old is your son?
My son is 12.
12?
Yeah. And I want to focus on my job. I enjoy my job. I want to focus on my life. And I think that's about it. And I want to focus on my advocacy and the education I'm giving to people about mental health.
Yeah.
So,
as you were talking, I put myself in the shoes of people who are watching, who identify with what they're going through, and they're asking, where did you get your help? I don't care. Name what facility you went to.
yes, I can name. I can even name my doctor.
Yeah, for free.
Yes. So, and let me also very importantly talk about what made me go and get help. Because a lot of people don't go and get help. And let me start from what made me go and get help. So like I said, because I am so tightly controlled, tightly wound, high performer, the cracks actually started before the breakup. So there was one moment, 2023, I realized I was losing control. So if you're the type of person that you must know yourself, you must have high self-awareness. And when you realize that something is falling apart a little bit, you're losing a bit of your grip, then you know that something is shifting. So I realized I was becoming even more emotional than normal. I was in a new relationship, I was in a new job, the demands were high, and I took responsibility for myself. No one told me to do it. I just started Googling and researching facilities. And then I decided to find the closest to me. I found UGMC. I asked for recommendations, and I got Dr. Paul Kumi. And I gave Dr. Paul Kumi credit because he got the diagnosis spot on. BPD, or borderline personality disorder, is very rare. And a lot of clinical people in Ghana are not familiar with it. And that's part of the handicap with our system. The conditions we're familiar with are very narrow. Depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, and it's very narrow. But there are tons of other conditions, and I think our system needs to broaden its experience and exposure. So I'm very grateful I found Dr. Paul Kumi because he got the diagnosis correct. He got all my diagnosis correct. The therapy I require is also very nuanced, and a lot of people don't provide that in Ghana. It's called dialectical behavior therapy, and that's what's used to treat BPD. And again, Dr. Paul Kumi is one person who's going through a certification. I think I know of another person, but she doesn't treat BPD. So it's very important to get the right therapist and the right solution for yourself. But what I would say is start anywhere. I go to Kolobu for medication management. So psychiatry is different from psychology or clinical psychologist. Psychiatrists manage medication. Clinical psychologists are the therapists. They cannot prescribe you with medication. So I go to Kolobu for them to handle my medication. Since I'm now on medication, I'm now on antidepressants. The antidepressants are only for the depression. BPD cannot be treated with any medication, unfortunately, just therapy. So I go to Kolobu, and then I go to Dr. Paul Kumi, and I also do all sorts of things. I do exercise, sleep routine. I do whatever I can to regulate myself, which is why I can sit here and still be articulate and still talk to you despite everything I'm going through, because I'm one person who will chase treatment, who will chase wellness. And I think that's very important for people who are listening. It's important for you to take your health and your wellness into your own hands, be your own advocate, and chase wellness. If something seems off, don't wait.
Chase wellness.
Chase wellness. Just go for it.
Boakyewaa, this has been really, really, really an amazing discussion.
Thank you so much.
I've learned so much.
Thank you.
You know, and it's helping me on so many levels that you probably won't know, and I won't tell you on air.
can I admit to you that I'm nervous? Like, people look at me and think I'm so confident and I'm so articulate.
You are nervous?
I'm nervous because stigma is real.
Wow.
So I'm nervous every single time I talk about my mental health. I get nervous, but I feel like this is what I was called to do.
And you're doing it so well.
Thank you.
Because I would never, ever would have thought you had any nervousness in you in terms of the confidence
Thank
you are
you.
using to present this.
Thank you.
And I'm telling you, for the folks out there who are watching, many of us, I'm going to include myself, have been educated. And we have really, really, really been enlightened by so many things you have said.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. So folks, if you have
may I just give a shout out to my
Please
handles? So I have a podcast.
Please
it's
do,
called The Boakyewaa Glover Show. It is on YouTube and also wherever you watch your podcasts. So whether it is on Amazon or whatever it is, but The Boakyewaa Glover Show, and we talk about mental health. And I also post every single day on mental health on my social media handles, which is just Boakyewaa Glover. You can find me. And last, I have a journal, and I write more lengthy on mental health. So subscribe to my journal on Substack. So please follow me, subscribe, and let's be on this mental health journey together. I appreciate every single person who already follows, and I look forward to engaging with more people. And my gratitude to KSM for this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I will extend my gratitude to Glover, your great dad who
Yes.
was a friend. And
So amazing.
and I saw you on TV3 or something.
Yes, in Metro.
And it was only one time that I was when you say, I see Glover Benny. And I said, really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
And look at us today.
Look at
so
us today.
it's all come right back. And
Full
so
circle.
Glover, wherever you are, you know, rest in peace. And we thank you for giving us her and all the education you're giving to us now. Stay blessed, man.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You too.
And that has been my first guest on KSM Show Reloaded. Is that politically correct, or talking to somebody who can be as engaging as she is? So the meantime, in between time, as I've been saying for the last, I don't know, 30 years, I am out of here.
The KSM Show.